let's start with creating functional decomposition, that is a modular framework from scratch. So as a sample, I've created 3 test cases: create order, update order, and delete order. And the functionality, as you can see, shown here on the Excel sheet. So for create order, we can divide the test case into following functionalities. First, we have to log in, and then once we log in, we have to create the order, and then we have to log out. Similarly, for update order, we have 4 functionalities: login, search order. We'll search for the order, then we'll update the order, and then we can log out. And for delete order, we have login, then we'll search for the order which you want to delete, and then we'll delete the order and then log out. So as you can see, we have broken the test case into different functionalities, and that's why we call it as functional decomposition for this framework. So one thing, you have to identify the functionalities which are repeated in your test cases. For example, login, as you can see, is repeated in all the 3 cases, as well as logout. And search order is repeated for my second and third test case. So what I can do is I can create functions for login, logout, and search order. So the functionalities which will be reused in your test cases, will be creating functions for that. And then in your main test case, you'll be calling these functions, the functions which you have created. So this is how this is a brief about how you implement a modular framework. Now I'll show you the code which will be used for implementing this modular framework for the following cases. Now this is a sample code which I have created for the modular framework, and for the 3 test cases which I had shown you, that is create order, update order, and delete order. So the first, what I've done is I've created different scripts for different test cases. That is 3 scripts for 3 test cases. So the first test case is create order. So what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm calling the function. Okay, you can ignore the comment part. It's just for your explanation what it is doing. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm calling the login function, okay, fn login. Then there'll be a code to create order. So the code to create order is specific to this test case only, because create order code won't be repeating anywhere else. So I won't be putting it in a function. I'll be writing it down in this test case. Then comes the function call to the logout code. So where are these login and logout functions? Now if I go to my function library, that is .qfl file, I'll see there are 3 functions. The first is login. This function inside will have the code for logging into the flight application system or whatever system. Second is the logout, and within this function there will be the code for logging out of the application. And the third is for searching the order in a particular application. Okay, so this code we can use object repository, or of which the object repository can be shared or local. And if you want to avoid using object repository, you can use descriptive programming for the same. So I won't explain you the coding part, because this is something which you are already aware of. So you just have to write the code for this, and there is the framework, basically the framework which is followed over here. Okay, so this is .qfl is my function library. You can have a single function library where you can keep on adding functions. So what you can do, you can have a single person in your team who can maintain this function library, and we will keep on adding the functions. So whatever function any of you write, you can just give it to them, give it to that single person, and that single person who is maintaining this function library will add the functions accordingly. So in this way there'll be a better coordination in the team. Okay, now if you see the create order, what I'm doing is I'm saving the time first of all, because I'm not writing the login function again and again, because it is already there in the function library. I'm just calling it. So first of all, if you're using a local repository, you'll be saving on the space which the QTP is using, since you're not using the objects for the login and the logout. So first of all, you're saving the space, as well as you're saving the time. Now these things won't look relevant in this case, since it's a very small test case and it's a small project. But a big project wherein thousands of lines are involved and a lot of test cases are involved, hundreds of test cases are involved, there these things really matter. So this is where functional decomposition comes into picture. I'll show you the folder structure as well. Now I've created a folder, project modular framework. Okay, this is my project. Okay, so my entire project is in this folder, and inside this I'm having a folder which is having the scripts. Now when I go inside, I've saved the test cases in different folders. Now if I go to the Excel file, along with the test case, I've mentioned the script name, since I have added separate scripts, separate folders for separate test cases containing separate scripts. That's why I'm maintaining a separate column called a script name, which is associated with the test cases. So these are the 3 test cases, and as you know, every script has these default folders which are created along with the file. Now going back, this is my scripts, this is my function. Now modular is the function which I had created. Now as you can see, modular.qfl. Now you know how to create a function library. You have to go to File, New, and then click on Function Library, and then once the function library opens, you can add your functions accordingly. And once you have saved this with a particular name, so it is saved somewhere in your file system. So wherever you save it, you can put it in your folder structure in your project, and once it is saved, you can associate with your test. So what are the tests with which you have to associate? So create order will need this function library, since we are calling login and logout functions. So what you have to do is, in your create order test, you have to go to File, go to Settings, go to Resources. Functions are your resources. Now I don't want these functions. These are from the earlier test. I had created a default, because of which it keeps on adding on every test. Now click on this plus button. These things have already been explained to you, so just to brush up with your earlier, because it's been a long time, there's been a long gap since I explained you this concept. So just to brush up with the basic concepts, and here you have to search for your project. So this is my project modular framework. Inside that, in the functions, I'm having this function library, and just associate with your test. So once it is associated, you can just directly call the functions from the function library. Okay. Now the same way, I can also open my modify order. I will save it. Now one thing you have to remember, that as I said, whatever project you're creating, these are the resources of your project: the function library, scripts. I have not used recovery scenario for this, but if I'm using, it will be saved externally, which we can save it over here. And also, if you're using shared object repository, the extension is .tsr, so it will, even the shared object repository will be saved externally, so you can save it somewhere here. So these are the different resources which are associated with your project or with the test.